The storm swept in before dawn on day 13, bringing with it howling winds and relentless rain that battered the Yellow Tribe's camp. With Shang voted out the night before, the remaining five, Karen, Shego, Velma, him, and Lois, faced the full fury of the elements, and each other. Their shelter was nearly flattened. Fire was a lost cause. They were wet, freezing, and hangry. Shego, pacing with agitation, muttered, "I didn't think this game could get worse, and then it rains for hours while we're stuck with each other. I need some personal space or I'm going to crash out." Lois rolled her eyes. "Right, because you've been such a ray of sunshine this whole time, Shego. So that would be a change of pace for you." Him giggled, but caught himself before Shego saw. Before it could escalate further, Karen jumped in, trying to hold things together. "Save your breath, no one's dry, no one's happy. Let's not turn on each other more than we already have." But the tension was already deepening. The vote to eliminate Shang still lingered like a shadow. He had been a steadying presence, especially for Lois, who had quietly leaned on him as a confidant. On top of that, she had gotten a vote from Velma last night. Lois was confused by that. She felt like the two had really bonded on the beach yesterday talking about family back home. Later, as the rain softened for a brief spell, Velma and Lois wandered together in search of dry firewood. It was the first real moment they'd had alone since the vote. Lois broke the silence. "You blindsided me, Velma. You knew I was close to him, and writing my name down on the parchment. I just don't know what else I can do to save myself. I have nothing left to give. I came out here for friends and fun, but all I've gotten so far is beaten down by people I thought liked me. The only thing stopping me from writing my own name at this point is knowing I'll never forgive myself. I know I can do this, I just don't know how. And now, here I am, trauma dumping on one of the people who are going to vote me out. I really am a mess right now. It's almost funny." Velma didn't defend herself immediately. She stopped walking and turned to face Lois, her voice low and sincere. "Lois, first of all I want to assure you that I really do like you, and I want us to be friends. I want to work with you, and I'm sorry. I felt like I had to choose between staying loyal and staying safe. This game is hard, and we're both playing it the best way we can." Lois's voice cracked slightly. "Shang and Ursula were the only ones who looked out for me out here. When I felt invisible, like I didn't belong in this group, they made space for me, and I thought you and I were getting there too." Velma's eyes softened. "I didn't realize it meant that much to you, but we're in this game, and it eats away at everything. I didn't come here to cry," Lois said, blinking back tears, "but I'm tired of pretending this doesn't matter. I miss my kids, I miss normal, and I miss having people around me who I know will be there for me, no matter what." Velma stepped closer. "You're not invisible to me. I want to work with you. Not out of strategy, but because I trust you. We can figure this out. Step 1 is to win this next challenge, and then we go forward from there." The moment stretched. Then Lois slowly nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "We'll try, but no more lies. I need something real out here." Velma agreed, tearing up. Her mind switched gears into figuring out how to save her current alliance and Lois, their newfound friendship overcoming Velma's desire to keep her former ally safe. But numbers are what truly matter in Survivor. What to do, Velma wondered. Back at camp, him sat alone, staring into the gray sky, smiling faintly. Karen approached him, unsettled. "Enjoying the chaos?" she asked. "Oh, immensely, Sister Karen," he said, his voice melodic and eerie. "It's when people's masks slip, when they become interesting." Meanwhile, Shego, restless and damned, pulled Karen aside. "We need to think long term. Velma's being weird. You saw her orchestrate Shang's blindside, and then vote Lois? What was that? Acting like she didn't know the plan? She's the one who created it." Karen frowned. "She's loyal to me, or at least I think so. I've noticed her being more social, but she's not like us. She actually cares what people think of her. She's nice to everyone, until it benefits her not to be," Shego snapped. Karen raised an eyebrow on her screen, acknowledged she had some thinking to do, and rolled away. She didn't commit. Karen was watching everyone, especially Velma and Lois, who now shared a quiet, but undeniable closeness. Trust was in short supply, but bonds were forming again. Shego stayed behind for a moment talking to herself. "I don't want her out now, but someone needs to be on watch duty. Velma being flaky is not something I have time to deal with." Between trying to vote out Mommy Dearest and managing Sister Slay Hunty Boots on one side, and Alexa on the other, production and I are gonna have to talk about casting, because these people are a mess. As night fell, the storm returned in full force. 5 castaways lay curled beneath their tattered shelter, their breath visible in the air, each one battling the cold and their own thoughts. Trust, guilt, and uncertainty twisted through the tribe like the wind itself, reminding them that on day 13 of Survivor, the real storm was only just beginning. Day 13 dawned bleak and unforgiving at the Blue Tribe camp. The storm arrived just as the sun peeked over the horizon, casting dark clouds and pounding rain across the makeshift shelter. The once cozy camp quickly turned to a soggy, muddy mess. The fire was extinguished early, leaving the tribe shivering and miserable. Tensions began to simmer almost immediately. Tigger, usually the most upbeat of the tribe, bounced restlessly under the shelter, trying to shake off the chill. "We've gotta do something. Sitting around all day's just gonna make us nuts." Speaking of nuts, anybody got any cashews or peanuts or macadamia nuts or pecans or Brazil nuts or almonds or? Jerry, hunched in a corner with his arms crossed, snapped, "No one here has food. We're starving. Maybe stop bouncing around like a lunatic and let the rest of us cope. Conserve energy." Tigger blinked. "I'm just trying to help, Jerry. Positivity leads to productivity." "Haha, oh, give me a break. You've been a distraction since day one. This isn't your normal cartoon show. Everything isn't all butterflies, best friends, and picnics." Muriel gently stepped between them. "My sweet dears, let's all take a nice break to enjoy the fresh rain. We're all tired. Let's not make it worse by turning on each other. Tigger, I think there's a lovely puddle for you to bounce in near the fire pit. And Jerry, I need some help repairing a fork I was working on making for preparing lunch. Care to help?" Both immediately fell for the bait. Muriel was subtly dominating the tribe socially, and not even meaning to. Everyone sort of naturally listened to her calm but confident leadership style. Tommy was seeing her as a mother figure, Chica was seeing her as the first genuine connection with a human in years, and Cosmo was just happy to be around other happy people. The camp went quiet again. The only sound was the wind rattling through the trees and rain slapping the shelter. While some stood in silence, others sought comfort. King Boo and Cosmo, unlikely companions, ended up side by side under a thick palm frond. Cosmo was humming tunelessly, staring at the droplets dripping from the leaves above them. King Boo, ever spectral and aloof, broke the silence. "Do you miss your world?" he asked, unfamiliar with the world of fairies. Cosmo's eyes widened. "Every second. Wanda, Timmy, Poof. It's weird being the one without the wand, you know." King Boo gave a hollow chuckle. "I understand. I ruled my domain. I was feared. I'm so used to being in full control and having others do what I ask of them. Here, I'm just another player pretending not to be vulnerable. And it's hard. I don't like to show weakness, but over time it's becoming clear to me I'm having a hard time connecting with people." Cosmo's head tilted. "You miss being in control." "Yes," King Boo said quietly. "But I'm learning something here. In chaos, there's clarity. I'm learning who I am and growing, even though I stay detached. I may be physically heartless, but there are some cartoons, like you, who I enjoy." Cosmo's usual silliness faded for a moment, a rare pause. "I like this version of you. Not so scary, just real. And we're both all floaty. So that's fun. Can we start a floaty alliance?" Boo responded quickly. "Absolutely. I want to play with you." A bond was born in that moment, between the whimsical and the wicked, finding peace in each other's strange honesty. It would prove a valuable connection in the days ahead. Back at the shelter, Chica sat quietly, her mechanical joints creaking slightly in the damp. She watched Muriel, who was tending to the meager food supplies, rationing the last bits of rice. Muriel looked worn but calm. "Muriel," Chica said softly, "you always seem calm, even when it's awful." "Why?" Muriel smiled faintly. "Because if I let myself fall apart, who's going to help put everyone else back together?" Chica blinked. "You remind me of someone I used to know, someone kind. A little girl. Susie was her name. She was very loving, and always cared for everyone around her, especially animals. She loved her puppy the most." Chica's eyes changed colors for a moment. Muriel was touched, and replied genuinely, "Where is Susie now?" "Probably rooting for you from home." Chica's eyes narrowed. She didn't know how to answer that question. Her arms thrust forward involuntarily into a hug with Muriel. She slowly and softly responded, "She's always near my heart. Always here for me. And here for us, Muriel." Muriel squeezed her thick metallic hand. "That means a lot." Tommy watched the two hug from a distance and took it as them agreeing on the four-person alliance between himself, Chica, Muriel, and Jerry. Although the rain was awful, he was focused on the game. He sat by himself during a gap between rain showers thinking about the friends and allies he has made so far. His closest ally Velma has an idol on the other tribe, and he was in the majority on this tribe. "I'm doing this for you, Chucky," Tommy said quietly to himself, smiling as Chica walked back into camp. As the day wore on, the storm never fully let up. There were no grand moves made, but the lines of loyalty subtly redrew themselves. Jerry, bitter after his argument with Tigger, began quietly observing who comforted whom. Tigger, while still a ball of nervous energy, took solace in Muriel's quiet steadiness. Tommy sat beside him, asking about nap time and when he might be able to build some toys for entertainment. And Cosmo, he found a confidant in King Boo, who still held the secret of his hidden immunity idol close to his chest. Though no votes were cast that day, the seeds of future gameplay were being sown in the rain. Every glance, every argument, every shared shelter space, it all counted now. The storm was nature's way of stripping everything bare, revealing not just soaked clothes and sunken faces, but also raw truths. And with all the downtime in the past few days, the group was starting to both bond and fall apart at the seams. Day 13 didn't break the Blue Tribe, but it reshaped them. On the cold, gray morning of Day 14, the castaways gathered for the next tribal immunity challenge, their breath visible in the chilly air. The rain had ceased, but the damp ground clung to their feet, and the cold was sharp after a long, sleepless night. The obstacle course loomed in front of them, a towering, three-story gauntlet of ladders, nets, walls, and rope swings. Jeff Probst gave the rules, and both tribes silently exchanged glances of determination. Yellow Tribe selected Velma, Shego, and Karen to run the course, with him and Lois on the puzzle. Blue Tribe chose Jerry, Tigger, and Chica for the course, with Muriel and King Boo on the puzzle. Cosmo and Tommy sat out for Blue. The race began with Velma and Jerry kicking things off. Velma moved methodically, her brain calculating every movement. Jerry had the speed advantage, bolting up the ladder and flinging himself across the nets with reckless energy. He reached the top of the third story first and dove down the slide, giving Blue an early lead. Shego followed next for Yellow, chasing Tigger, who bounded up the course with his trademark energy. Shego, though, was sharper, less flair, more finesse. She gained ground on Tigger midway through, overtaking him at the wall climb with a well-timed leap. The tribes were now neck and neck. Him cheered from the puzzle stand. "Let's go, Sister Shego." He quickly muted himself, realizing the other tribe was listening. Last came Karen for Yellow and Chica for Blue. Karen struggled slightly on the rope swing, her energy flagging from the cold and exhaustion. Her mechanical hands struggled to adapt to the wet conditions. Chica, however, was a machine, literally. Her robotic movements were precise and unrelenting. She surged ahead, finishing the obstacle course in record time and tagging in Muriel and King Boo to start the puzzle. Moments later, him and Lois began working on Yellow's puzzle. The puzzle was deceptively tricky, an intricate wooden brainteaser that required the pieces to interlock in specific ways, spelling out the phrase "hold on tight." Muriel's calm, methodical thinking paired with King Boo's analytical mind gave Blue a huge advantage. King Boo held the pieces in midair, aligning them to visualize the structure before committing. Yellow struggled to find their groove. Him was impatient, trying to force pieces together. He was muttering under his breath that they needed to solve the puzzle. Lois attempted to slow him down, suggesting a more measured approach, but the two couldn't sync. Pieces clattered to the ground, frustration mounting. Meanwhile, Muriel placed the final piece for Blue. King Boo yelled excitedly as Jeff raised his hands. "Blue Tribe wins immunity!" Blue erupted in cheers, hugging and high-fiving. Despite the cold, their spirits soared. Yellow, on the other hand, was crushed. The tension among them was palpable, especially between him and Lois, whose puzzle disconnect might cost them dearly at Tribal. As Blue took the immunity idol and returned to their camp safe for another night, Yellow trudged back, knowing that someone's torch would be snuffed tonight. Back at the Blue camp, spirits were higher than they'd been in days. Winning immunity after the grueling storm and bitter cold felt like a turning point. Muriel and King Boo were quietly congratulated for their puzzle performance despite their previous disagreement, and even Tigger couldn't stop bouncing, literally. "Victory wiggles," Tigger announced, hopping around the campfire pit while others chuckled. Cosmo joined him in celebration, excited for another day on the island with his new friends. Chica, calm and mechanical as ever, received praise too, especially from Jerry, who called her a beast on the course. She gave a rare nod of appreciation, and extended a handshake to Jerry. For the first time, Jerry softened around her. Despite the cheer, strategy didn't stop. Jerry pulled Muriel, Tommy, and Chica aside to reaffirm their alliance, emphasizing how close the game was getting and how trust was more important than ever. They discussed which of the other three would need to be next to go, and all agreed Tigger was nice, but couldn't be easily managed. Cosmo was loyal and non-threatening for now. And King Boo, well, in their view he was just kind of there. Meanwhile, King Boo wandered the outskirts of camp alone, clutching his secret hidden immunity idol tighter than ever. He was safe for now, but his paranoia was growing, especially with how strong Chica was becoming. Thankfully he had Cosmo as an ally to loop him in on anything suspicious going on. The two discussed the prospect of targeting Chica, but Cosmo dismissed it, claiming she is his friend from their original Purple tribe. Boo re-evaluated and told Cosmo to keep his eyes open and report anything suspicious. Later, Muriel and Cosmo shared a heart-to-heart about how much they missed home. Muriel confessed she missed warm soup and her rocking chair. Cosmo, in his usual randomness, said he missed pudding and floating fish. The two laughed, a much-needed light moment after a stormy stretch of days. Everyone was exhausted, and settled in to try and stay warm on the damp night. Thankfully on this rainy day, the night was peaceful and uneventful for the SWAT Blue tribe. The Yellow tribe's march back to camp following their immunity loss was marked by a hollow silence, broken only by the crunch of damp sand under weary feet. With just 5 players remaining, Velma, Lois, Shego, him, and Karen, the air was thick with unease. The challenge defeat was only a prelude to what everyone already knew: someone was going home tonight, and the margin for error was razor thin. Lois, walking slightly behind the group, felt a familiar weight settle on her shoulders, one that had been creeping up ever since Ursula and Shang were taken out. Her old alliance was shattered, and while she had tried to find footing with Karen, she now realized that alliance was more about manipulation than trust. She wasn't part of anyone's inner circle. She was on the bottom, and she knew it. Yet hope flickered. Over the past few days, she had begun to connect with someone unexpected: Velma. While Lois sat near the fire pit thinking about her next move, Him called for a sister squad meeting. "Sisters, I think we should make a group trip to the shoreline and solidify what we already know. Shego, perhaps bring some sister snacks for us to munch on while we talk." He turned to head to the beach, while Shego looked over to Karen and Velma. "I'm going to Sister Snap," Shego said under her breath. Velma quickly replied, "You guys go ahead. I'll meet you in a few minutes. I need to go refill my water bottle." As the others sat beneath the grayish clouds that loomed over the shore, Velma approached Lois at the edge of the trees. The others were still occupied with solidifying their alliance, but Velma was still undecided. She wanted to somehow keep Lois around while keeping the sister squad intact, but with so few numbers a maneuver like that would be impossible. Still, better to talk to others and hear out options. Just like solving a mystery, the more information, the better. "Still cold?" Velma asked Lois, wrapping her arms around herself. Lois nodded. "Colder than yesterday. But that's not what's bothering me." Velma sat beside her, letting the wind whip at her ponytail. "You feel like the easy vote tonight." Lois gave a short, bitter laugh. "That obvious? Of course I am. Seems like I may be sister screwed by the sister squad." There was a pause, heavy but not uncomfortable. "I didn't expect to like you," Lois admitted. "But you're one of the only people here who sees through all the noise. And telling me you wanted to work with me, now is the time." "Velma, please, I'm begging you. Pull over one of them, and let's run this game." Velma looked at her thoughtfully. "You're stronger than they give you credit for. And honestly, I don't think you deserve to go yet." Lois turned her head. "Then help me stay." Velma didn't answer right away, but the silence was enough to say she was considering it. Back at the fire, Shego, Karen, and Him were in hushed talks. Him had grown increasingly theatrical, floating the idea that they should vote out Velma before she gained too much influence. "She's smarter than all of us put together," he said with a smirk. "And I do not enjoy being outmaneuvered. The sister squad can't afford to have someone going rogue." "But Lois is the easy vote," Karen argued. "And we don't know for sure that Velma is against us." "She might be," Shego said, narrowing her eyes. "And not knowing is worse than having a known enemy." "She's right, Him. This may be the time." Karen hesitated. "Or we keep her close and take out Lois like we planned." Him kept quiet, letting the others know as long as it isn't him, he's happy to vote whoever. The conversation shifted. Trust was fraying. Alliances were softening. And everyone was aware that the power structure was in flux. Meanwhile, Velma found Karen at the well and subtly floated the idea of working together with Lois. "She's not as useless as you think," Velma said. "She's loyal when given a reason to be. And him? He's a wild card. He's going to flip on us the first chance he gets. Shego's a hothead, but at least she's not going to turn on us." Karen, ever pragmatic, mulled this over. "If we do this and I flip, Shego has to be on board. I'm not having her mad at me for taking out her closest ally." "Shego already has doubts," Velma assured her. "You've seen how irritated she is about the sister squad stuff Him is flaunting." That night, the tension was understated but electric. A storm had passed overhead, but another loomed below the surface, one of shifting loyalties, lingering grudges, and hard-fought survival. As the sun began to set, Karen approached Shego and explained the idea of flipping against him. Shego agreed that it was a consideration, but if the move needed to be made, tonight was the night. As Shego went to talk to Velma, Him interrupted asking about replacing the palm fronds on the shelter. As the tribe sat around the fire, plans were whispered and nods were exchanged. Velma and Lois shared a glance, a silent agreement. Lois might still be on the bottom, but for the first time in days, she wasn't alone. And tonight, that might make all the difference. Velma assured Lois that no matter what happened, they would stay friends forever. As the tribe packed their bags for tribal council, the air was thick with tension and uncertainty. With so many plans thrown out through the day, no one knew where the votes would lie tonight. As the Yellow tribe filed into tribal council on the night of day 14, the tension was as dense as the damp jungle air that clung to their skin. The fire pit blazed in the center of the stone chamber, casting flickering light across tired, weary faces. Jeff greeted them with his usual steady presence, but the mood among the tribe was far from steady. "Welcome back to tribal council," Jeff began, his voice slicing through the silence. 3 immunity losses in a row. That's gotta be annoying. Velma, after another tough loss, how's morale at camp? Velma adjusted her glasses. Low. Between the cold, the rain, and the uncertainty, we're all feeling it. But it's more than that, it's the paranoia that eats away at you. You don't know who to trust anymore. I genuinely like everyone here, but you have to sort of look past that and play the game presented to us. Jeff turned to Lois. You were on the wrong side of the last vote. What's that been like? Lois didn't hesitate. Isolating. You think you have allies, but when you get blindsided, it puts everything in a new light. It's been emotionally difficult knowing these people very clearly don't want me around, but I'm not rolling over. I've been having conversations and doing what I can to change my fate. That answer prompted a raised eyebrow from him, who leaned forward to cut in theatrically. And some of us wonder if those conversations come from desperation or strategy. There's a difference. But the name of the game is Survivor, and some players just weren't built to survive. Others came in prepared to play hard and play well. She's playing, Velma cut in, her voice clear and deliberate. And honestly, I respect it. Shego crossed her arms and glanced between them. It's funny how fast dynamics shift in this game. 1 minute you're voting with someone, the next you're their target, or their savior. Jeff picked up on the shift. So are we looking at a power struggle tonight? Karen smiled thinly, and jumped in to answer. It's not that simple, but it is about positioning, and making sure you're not on the wrong side of the numbers when things get tough. There were 1,000,001 plans thrown out today. That's both good and bad. Good because you know you have options and have room to play, but bad because if everyone is a target, the vote could bounce onto anyone. As the conversation unfolded, the lines between alliances grew fuzzier. Him continued to play coy, answering Jeff's questions with riddles and flamboyant gestures, but under his theatrics was a growing awareness that his grip on the tribe's pulse wasn't as strong as he thought. Velma and Lois exchanged several glances throughout the discussion, subtle but unmistakable signs of a newfound connection. Jeff posed one last question. So tonight, are we going with what's easy, or what's smart? No one answered. The fire crackled in response. With that, Jeff stood. All right, it's time to vote. Each player nervously stepped forward to vote. Jeff returned with the urn after each of the 5 voted. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and would like to play it, now would be the time to do so. There's a moment of silence as him and Shego grinned. Velma stood up suddenly. I'm playing this, she says confidently, holding out the hidden immunity idol. I'm playing it for Lois. Lois gasped, genuinely stunned. Karen and Shego exchange wide-eyed glances as Velma walks over and hands the idol to Jeff. Him bursted out laughing out of pure amusement and nerves. Jeff nodded, inspected the idol, and said, this is a hidden immunity idol. Any votes cast for Lois will not count. Jeff began reading the votes. First vote, Lois. Does not count. Lois reached out to hold Velma's hand. Second vote, Lois. Does not count. Shego and Karen were visibly panicked. Third vote, Lois. Does not count. That leaves 2 votes, with none counting so far. Him tilted his head. Lois and Velma huddled closer. Next vote, Karen. That's 1 vote Karen, 1 vote left. Karen shifted uncomfortably. Shego glared at Velma. Jeff paused dramatically, then looked up. The 7th person voted out of Cartoon Survivor Season 1, Karen. The tribe has spoken. Karen stood slowly, in complete disbelief. Wow, she mutters under her breath as she brings her torch to Jeff. The flame is snuffed. Karen, it's time for you to go. As Karen exits, stunned, the remaining 4 castaways sit in silence. Jeff addresses them. Big moves create big ripples. You may not feel them now, but they're coming. The tribe got up to go back to camp, and Lois hugged Velma. Him stood grinning at the chaos, happy to still be in the game. Shego was stone-faced, in absolute shock. This was a problem she'd have to deal with later. The group walked out the return to their wet yellow camp. The Yellow tribe returned to camp in stunned silence, the torches flickering in the damp night air. Velma walked a few paces ahead, her shoulders stiff with tension, while Lois trailed just behind her, wide-eyed and still processing the fact she was still in the game. Karen's torch had been snuffed in dramatic fashion, and her absence was already palpable. Shego and him sat quietly by the fire pit, barely speaking, stewing over what had just happened. Velma's idle play had completely blindsided them, and now trust within the tribe was fractured. A 4 against 1 had suddenly turned into a 2 versus 2. Lois, grateful and emotional, quietly thanked Velma by the shelter, promising her loyalty. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice trembling. Velma gave a small nod. "We need each other now. I promise you, Velma, I will repay you for this. From the bottom of my heart, thank you." Velma hugged her, assuring they were locked in all the way to the end. Suddenly the duo was startled by noise from down the beach. Shego was lashing out, screaming and hitting a tree. She was betrayed. Him did what he could to egg her on. "Sister Shego, let it all out. Let the hate consume you. We'll get back at them soon." This chaos was perfect for him. The more others stay on their toes, the more room to manipulate. The mood was heavy, but also tense with possibility. Velma's bold move shifted the dynamics, and everyone knew the game had changed. Tonight, new lines were drawn.